Okay, let's talk about electronics placement. Now, on this helicopter, there's several places you can mount different things. For instance, let's take the speed control. The speed control can be mounted on this top tray here. It could possibly be mounted underneath the battery tray, like here. It could be mounted in the back on the bottom, or it actually could be mounted on the side of the helicopter as well. So there's several options for the speed control. The gyro, of course, will go on the back. A gyro tray is provided on the top here, so it can simply mount to the top with the sticky tape that's provided with the gyro. However, I prefer not to have my gyro on top due to in a crash the paddle may hit it and damage it. So I prefer to mount mine on the bottom. So I will be mounting my gyro on the bottom with some sticky tape, and then I'll be putting a Velcro strap around the gyro just to make sure that the tape doesn't let go and fall off. So I'll be mounting my gyro there. The receiver, obviously the receiver can go on this top plate, which is where the manufacturer recommends it. I prefer to keep my receiver as far away from the motor as possible, so I will be mounting mine in the back on the bottom tray here myself, like so. And of course the battery pack goes here. This is the only place really for it. So I'm going to be putting my speed control on this top shelf. Okay, I'll be putting the battery pack on this lower shelf and the receiver back here, and the gyro inverted on the boom mount. Even though there's a hole here, there's enough surface area of these blocks to mount the gyro, but again, I will have a security strap. Now, one of the things I like to do in mounting components is use some of this, it's an industrial strength Velcro. It sticks really well, and the Velcro holds pretty well. I like to use that on most of my components, for instance the receiver, because it actually adds like a foam pad to reduce any vibration shock to the receiver. So for sensitive components, you want to either have some kind of foam or something to give it some shock. So I like to use the Velcro on that. The ESC I'll put up here, I'll use a small strip just to keep the ESC from being able to slide around, and I'll probably just use a rubber band or something to hold it to this tray. On my battery packs, I also like to use a strip of Velcro, and I'll put a strip of Velcro on this lower tray, even though again there's a hole here, there's enough surface area to stick it. But additionally, the Velcro's not, this pack's so heavy, the Velcro, while it may keep it from sliding out, it doesn't keep it completely from wobbling around, so I like to use one of these Velcro straps as well to secure it. So I'll be using a strap to hold the battery pack on there. So I like to use Velcro for that. Again, it makes a good shock absorber, as well as a mounting, mounts it really well. Okay, so those were I'll be mounting my components. I showed you other ways in which to mount, but that's where I'll be doing mine, and then when I come back I'll show that all mounted. As a matter of fact, my next segment I'm going to show how I'm mounting the motor. Now the motor has 4 holes, but only 2 can be used. 2 holes are farther spaced apart than the other one, so that only gives you 2 options. You can either mount it with the wires coming out this side, or mount it with the wires coming out this side. I found that the wires rubbing on this frame a little too hard on this side, so I'm going to be mounting it with the wires coming out this side of the helicopter, the right side. Okay, now let's talk about something else here. Anywhere you're going to have wires from your servos or anything as you route things, going over top of frames or through holes on frames where they might rub on the frame, the frame can be pretty sharp in some areas. So anywhere like here, I have a wire coming up from the servo that's going to be going under this frame. Take a file and just round the sharp edge of the frame so that, you know, due to any vibration, the wire won't chafe and get cut through on the sharp edge. So anywhere there's going to be a wire going over a frame section or through a frame section or whatever, where it might be rubbing on one of these sharp edges, go ahead and file down the edge where those wires will be. So I'll be routing my wires, putting my receiver in, and when I come back I'll show my components and where I have my wires routed. Okay, so we've mounted our motor and set our pinion. Let me go over it. When you set the pinion, let me zoom in here. When you set the pinion, make sure that the pinion is centered in the gear. There's teeth on the pinion, both top and bottom. You don't want the pinion too high or it comes off of the teeth. You don't want it too low so that the pinion's lower than the main gear. So a happy medium in between. Remember, the gear does move up and down a little bit, so make sure that it's not coming up above the top or below. As far as backlash goes, the gear's not completely fully round. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to find your low spots, your high spots in the gear, and set for zero backlash. So that way at the low spots in the gear, you have a little backlash. As you see, I have a little backlash right there. Okay, but in the high spots, you don't. Now, when I say no backlash, that means you still want it to be smooth, you know, really smooth through the high spots. You'll hear it when it goes over the high spots, but it's smooth. It's not binding. You know, the gear isn't, you know, tough to turn, and it's very smooth. Too tight here, and you'll burn energy trying to overcome that tightness. So you want a smooth fit, but you don't want too much backlash in the low spots. And basically at the you know, there's backlash there. Find the high spots. There's a couple high spots, usually near the spokes, like right there, and right where these are. Make it so there's zero backlash. Okay, so that's basically how you set that up. Now I put it on this side of the bird for the wires. Again, as I said in a previous segment, the motor can only go two ways in the mounting holes. Let me go wide on this. So you get your choice of either the wires coming out here or out here near where the battery is going to be coming out. There's a big frame piece here, so it's better to mount it this way. Also, remember to file the frames right here, because these wires are pressing up against the frames and you don't want them to chafe and get cut by the frames. So this is where your wires will come out. Now, the motor does not come with any billet connectors, so you'll have to get some. Usually you'll get some that come with the speed control. Some manufacturers supply both ends, so hopefully your speed control came up. But to put your billet connectors on there, males go on the motor, females on the speed control. Okay, so that's basically the motor, and when I come back I'll have the rest of the components mounted and overview the wiring.